This is 7th grade Chapter 1 review. I'm going to write it on notebook paper, show all my work, and I want you to follow along. I'll help you set the problems up, but you have to solve them. So number 1. Jeremy and his friends ate 5/8 of a pie. If the pie was cut into 8 pieces, what fraction of the original pie was left over? You start off with a pie. Okay, there's 8 pieces in a pie. So the whole pie is going to be 8/8. They ate 5/8. So what fraction of the pie was left over? This would be your fraction right here. Remember, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, once you find the denominator, you keep the denominator. This one happened to have the same denominator. So you keep it and do your math. You need to answer this in a complete sentence. Okay, that was number 1. Number 2. It takes Jacqueline 1/3 hour to walk to the library 3/4 miles away. What is his walking pace in miles per hour? Three-fourths miles. He did it in 1/3 of an hour. Okay, so now we're dividing. Remember, you're going to keep it, change it, flip it. So 3/4 times 3/1 equals. When you're multiplying, remember, you're multiplying straight across. Okay? And when your numerator is larger than your denominator, you have to turn this in to an improper fraction by division. Okay? That's the hint I'm going to give you on this one. Number 3. Select the symbol that makes each statement true. We have 7/11 and 3/5. You need to change both of these into a decimal. And then you're going to put, is it greater than, less than, or equal to? But change both of these to a decimal. I hope you remember how to do that. If you forgot, remember, some of you learned last year, cowboy rides on the horse. Okay, so when you're changing these to a decimal, the cowboy, which is 7, goes inside the house, and the horse, which is 11, stays outside the house. And over here, same thing. Okay, you have to show your work and turn these into decimals, and then use greater than, less than, or equal to. Number 4, you have 7/8, 13/15. So again, you're going to turn these into a decimal, and use your sign. Number 5. We have 2,400 divided by a -8. The same way we could write it would be 2,400 divided by -8. So So you need to show your work. You know the answer is going to be a negative because there's only one negative. Show your work. Number 6. What is the least common denominator of 1/5 and 5/16? Least common denominator. Okay. Remember I showed you in class how you could make a list of their multiples. 5, 16. And to find the least common one, once you come up with a common one, that would be your least one. We know that 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. For 16, okay, 16, 32, 48, blah, blah, blah. Until you find a number that is the same. And that would be your least common denominator. Number 7. (1/6) plus (-7/9). Remember, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you have to have a common denominator. Your first question is, can the smallest denominator go into the larger denominator? It cannot. So you have to find a common denominator, which is what we did over here. So over here you'd make 6 and 9 and list their multiples. 6, 12, 18. 9 and 9 is 18. Okay, that one just happened to be a fast one. So that was my least common denominator. So now you have to turn this into another problem. So it's a negative. So 6 times what got me 18? 6 times 3. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 9 times 2. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. And now you can solve your problem. Okay. Number 8. Tia parks her car in a garage that is 2 floors below ground level. When it says below ground level, below, that's a -2. She gets into the elevator and goes up 12 floors. We're going up, that's a positive. On which floor above ground level is she now? So you need to answer the question in a sentence, because I'm asking what level is she on? What floor level is she on? So answer the question and then write the sentence. Number 9. I'm trading pens. Number 9. Peter bought a dozen blueberry muffins. He ate 1/3 of them, then divided the remaining muffins equally among 4 friends. How much did Peter spend on each friend's muffins? Use a problem-solving model to solve. The problem-solving model, remember when we first started, the first week of school, you had a 4-step plan. So this one's going to be some steps. Okay? We have to determine how much was each muffin. Okay? So if we're going to do the blueberry muffins, they cost $15. You're going to have to do this in a plan somehow. I'm just going to show you what to do as far as the work, okay? You've got to complete your 4-step plan. But you've got to find out how much were the muffins, okay? Blueberry is 15 per dozen. Well, there's 12 in a dozen. So do your division, and this was for each muffin. And it says that each friend we have to decide on how many his friends ate. Okay? So that's another problem. Well, he ate a third of them. Well, what is a third of 12? Okay? So there's 12, but what's a third? We have to figure that out. So a third of 12 would be 4. That equals 1/3, and that's what he ate. So if he only ate 4, there were 12 dozen to begin. There were 12 muffins in the dozen, and he ate 12. That leaves 8 muffins, and he had 4 friends. So 8 muffins divided among the 4 friends. So you're going to have 8 now divided by 4 because this is his friends. And so it equaled out to be 2 per friend. And once you find out how much each of them are, that would be for each muffin. And the question was, how much did he spend on each of the friends' muffins? Each friend had 2 muffins. So you're going to have to multiply this by 2 because each friend ate 2 muffins. A little complicated. Try to use your 4-step plan, but that's basically the work you're going to have to do. Number 10. You have 2 and 5/6 times 1/3. Okay, your first step is a C trip. So 6 times 2 plus 5/6 times 1/3. Okay, you can finish the math. 11. Express each fraction or mixed number as a decimal. Use the bar notation if needed. You have 1 and 8/9. Okay, when you're turning these into a decimal, you know there's a whole. This whole number does not change. You can keep your whole and find out what 8/9 would be as a decimal. So 8 divided by 9. Okay. Find out what that's going to be as a decimal. And then, of course, your decimal would be right here. Okay, we have 12 would be 4/5. So again, to change a fraction to a decimal, 4 divided by 5. That's rather good. 13. What is 4 and 2/3 as a decimal? Use the bar notation if needed. So again, you have 4 wholes. I'm going to keep my 4. It's going to be a decimal. What is 2 divided by 3? That's going to go right here because you've got 4 wholes. You're really changing 2/3 into a decimal. Number 14 says find the perimeter of each figure. You have to understand what perimeter is. Perimeter is adding up all the side lengths. You're adding them all up. So on 14, you would have 3 1/3 plus 4 1/6 plus 5 1/2. Remember, what was the rule of adding and subtracting fractions? You have to find a common denominator. Will 3 go into 6? Yes. Will 2 go into 6? Yes. So my common denominator is 6. I'm going to rewrite this with everything that I know, and then I'm going to go back and change my fractions. 3 times 2 was 6. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 1 times 2. This one stayed the same. So 2 times 3, what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So that becomes 3. Oops, and I even put that down there wrong. We all make mistakes, but you gotta catch them. So now, what's important is that you do the seed trick. Okay, so remember, this is 6 times 3 plus 2 over 6. 6 times 4 plus 1 over 6. And then 5 times 6 plus 3 over 6. Okay, that's as far as I'm going to help you. Because now all you've got to do is work this, add it straight across, and you're going to have to turn it into, it's going to be improper. Remember, improper fraction is when the numerator is larger than the denominator. That is improper. When this one's larger than the denominator, you have to divide. So with your answer, you're going to end up dividing to get your answer. Okay? That's as far as I'm taking you. And you need to label it, your answer, in inches. Make sure you put down the measurement of inches. Number 15. The elevation of the Dead Sea is a negative 1,348 feet. The elevation of Death Valley is negative 282. What is the distance between the two elevations? I'm finding the difference. When you find the difference, do you add or subtract? When you're finding the distance, the difference in the distance, you're going to subtract. Okay, so I set this up for you. Remember, the two negatives make a positive. Okay, so you can work it out from there. I'm going to stop and make the second part to the review.